Oh, hi there, I'm Peter and this is Chris.
Peter honestly said at the start there which one of us should start. Like, Peter's been saying, hi, I'm Peter and this is Chris for literally 12 years.
I was just being civil because I tell you what, there's a distinct lack of civility going on the internet at the moment, and
wow, that was a good seg.
a lot of it's got to do with our magical tradition that happens every year when we set across the sea to Washington on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, except this time it's not Biden, it's Trump, which means we don't just get a polite exchange of meaningless platitudes like we usually do. And you see, the great thing is we always had the in with Biden because he's Irish.
Yeah.
And we Irish love identifying other Irish and claiming them as Irish, especially if they're Irish American. However, we did get Trump going like full open mic night in an Irish pub, so it was kind of similar.
Fuck all Seamus Heaney this year, but
No, listen, yeah, a little bit less poetry, a little bit less bowls of Shamrock, a little bit more trans people, Conor McGregor.
a nuclear war.
So it's actually nice that we got a little bit of invigoration, Peter. You know what I'm saying?
You're a sucker for novelty, even if it means the world is burning.
Absolutely. As long as I'm getting a dopamine hit, that's really all I'm looking for.
So it was basically like a fever dream that just happened to be broadcast on every major news network. And I guess let's start with the luncheon where Trump kicked things off by absolutely butchering the Taoiseach's name in a way that suggests he has never once spoken to an Irish person.
We welcome Taoiseach.
I have heard worse. I have heard worse pronunciations of Taoiseach.
Taoiseach.
And you know who's usually responsible for them? The fucking Brits, Peter. It's usually the Brits. And they write beside us, Peter, and they can't even pronounce it properly.
They're fucking doing it out of spite at this stage, Chris. They have to be.
You see, I think, you know, like when you're in a place and like somebody wants to like be passive aggressive and like they pretend they don't know your name or something like that. I actually think that's what the Brits are doing. Trump's one, this effort actually seems sincere. He seems honest in his attempt.
Taoiseach.
I am actually going to not give him a pass on this, but certainly say that I've heard much worse, and it's usually the Brits, and I'm actually here willing to say Brits 0, Trump 1. So let's continue.
He immediately follows it up with the sassiest version of Micheál I've ever heard in my life.
Micheál.
Ooh, Micheál, he loves it. Look at that. It is rolling off his tongue. Trump is slaying here. Yas, daddy.
Micheál.
He is loving this.
He sounds like someone trying to summon a demon.
Micheál.
Listen, it's like Micheál is like something you say during a séance.
Yeah,
I think that US corporations say Micheál in front of a mirror 3 times to get a permanent tax exemption. They just have to light some candles. They look in the mirror and that's what happens.
Every time they look at all the money they've saved in their account, they just go,
Micheál.
You know the way there's this like idea that people in like Bohemian Grove or whatever every year worship that big owl and they like burn it. It's a thing that like all the political heavy hitters in the US have to go to. Maybe now it's just Micheál Martin.
Micheál.
And then Trump, who let's remember is the actual president of the United States, immediately starts to fall apart mid-sentence.
By some estimates, more than 2,000 Irish American warriors have earned the Congressional Medal of Honor. This is an amazing statistic because who would ever think that's even possible? It's more than 50% of the medals of honor were won by the Irish. I'm going to have to check that.
That is the energy of a man reading his homework for the first time out loud. You know what's terrible? I know it's awful, and I know that this is the seduction of it. I am liking Trump after this day that Ireland visited America. He has so many Irish traits that I've never noticed. Like, this is incredibly Irish what he's doing here.
That's a good statistic. We're going to have to check what's going on over there, huh?
He's amazed by the words he's saying for the first time.
This reminds me of something that actually involves you and I, Peter. You mightn't remember this, and I'm going to take a trip down memory lane with you, because usually I'm the one with an absolutely appalling memory. When you and I first started working together on the radio years ago, the radio station we worked for at the time, which was iRadio, big shout out to iRadio, by the way, it was seen as really progressive, really out there for the time. It was a new youth radio FM station in Ireland. It was very exciting. And this is not a joke, but I remember our boss, you and I's boss, sent us to a course. It was a big day-long radio event in Dublin. And I remember, God bless him, as we're on our way up, he literally rings me and he's like, okay, into your work email, I have sent a PowerPoint presentation because I bet you guys haven't done anything. And sure enough, we had not done anything, Peter. You and I.
We weren't told we had to do anything.
In fairness, we weren't told we had to do anything, so that's fair enough.
We were just excited to be out going to Dublin for the day on the train.
We literally, Peter and I started drinking in Galway train station, I remember. We literally started drinking at like 9 a.m. because we were just really excited to be having a day out that was paid for. Because we were like 22 at the time or something, and we were getting like, this was big living for us. But I remember we arrived, right? And I'm literally looking at it going, what the fuck is any of this? And I'm like, we have to now get up on stage and talk about this shit. And it was all stuff about figures and growth and fucking strategies and all this. And I'm like, why the fuck would you send Peter and I to do this?
Chris stressing over the information, and all he hears in the background is another can being opened.
and that's the reality, man. You were totally cool about it. And I was like, oh, great, now we have to present this. And honestly, I opened that PowerPoint presentation and you and I fumbled our way through each slide. And it was honestly worse than what you're seeing now with Trump.
That's that's a good statistic.
So I really do identify with him when he says this.
Yeah.
And when he's trying to cover himself.
He also sounds like he's 6 cans of Karpaki in as well, to be honest with you.
Yes, I wonder, did he get the train to Washington for the day? Yeah. Was he in Mar-a-Lago? And then his employer said they'd pay for him to get the train to Washington, and he was just really excited. That's what this feels like.
A few little roadies for the way, I'm sure. I mean, it is St. Patrick's Day, so...
That's it, exactly.
And they have a lot of good fighters. I know so many Irish fighters, they like to fight.
The way he talks about Ireland really is an insight into how he views the country, and he views it as literally kind of one big bare knuckle fighting ring.
And they're damn good at it too.
He's probably got just a massive file on the Irish, and all it says is good at fighting, very annoying when it comes to tax evasion.
Very, very annoying when it comes to pharmaceutical companies.
That's it. So an Irish reporter asks Trump about Ireland's trade surplus with America.
Well, how worried should Ireland be, given the fact that it has a massive trade surplus with the US, over $50 billion? Neil Martin might be quite nervous about what you're going to tell him today.
Well, I don't think he looks nervous to me.
This really comes across as shit stirring from that reporter. First question in, and he's like, Micheál Martin should be nervous. Sure, aren't we absolutely rinsing America for money?
Oh, like, don't get me wrong. And this is kind of what it disappointed me a little bit about this. There was absolutely shit stirring going on. And I think personally, and I know that like you might think that I'm sometimes critical of Ireland and Peter. Yes, I am. We do have a housing crisis. Our health system and our infrastructure is an absolute fucking shambles. There is absolutely no question about any of those things. However, I will respectfully say, just like when our boys in green are playing football, we need to pull on the green jersey here. Because we should all be behind Micheál when he's over there doing his best on what is literally the world stage.
There's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland. If I drained Ireland of all of the cup, maybe I'd lose the Irish vote. I don't know. But
with one of the most volatile men on the planet, I absolutely wanted to see the best out of Micheál. This is something that should have united us. We should all have been behind Micheál.
Micheál.
The Taoiseach.
The internet seems to have been united in disappointment that there wasn't a literal scrap in the Oval Office. A man with 2 tricolours in his profile pic called Andy chimes in and says, hope Trump tells Martin that he is forcing all the pharma companies back from here to America. Then we'll see who's laughing. Ha 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 ha. And somebody else says, me too. The government won't be so smug then. Yes, these are people literally wishing for the downfall and economic destruction of our country just to spite a politician they don't like. It's remarkable.
Like, no matter what you think of this country, this would destroy us, what these people are wishing for. This would absolutely cripple us as a country.
Someone else says, I would honestly love if America pulled out all companies. It would force us to start making our own things for our own people. Our fishing industry could be our new Apple.
Because fishing brings in $13 billion in corporation tax per year, pal. Abso-fucking-lutely. Jesus, why didn't we think of that? We could just fish loads, Peter. Do you think that's what we need to do?
That's a lot of fish fingers.
Micheál, European Union's been very tough. And it's our turn too. You know, we get a turn at that also.
As you can see, Trump is literally one shit-stirring question from a reporter away from literally just like nuking Brussels or something.
The weapons today are unbelievable, between drones and various types of guns. I'm not even talking about beyond that with the big babies. You understand what I mean? I hate to even mention the name, the nuclear name. I hate to mention it.
He sounds a little peeved, and then about 20 seconds later, he's literally talking about nuclear weapons.
With the big babies.
This is like, what do you know that whole 4chan meme, what did he mean by this? What did he mean by this?
The big babies, you understand what I mean? I hate to even mention the name.
There was lots of body language experts getting involved as well.
This says, read the body language and you can clearly see the difference between a weak man and a strong man. Trump looks very disinterested in what Martin has to say, and you can see it in Martin's face. He is anxious. What were these people watching? If I was Micheál Martin, seeing how Trump had treated some other world leaders, if he wasn't screaming at me that we should give ourselves back to the UK, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what Zelensky got.
No, you see, they say he looks pathetic because he's afraid to widen his legs.
These guys watch one of these YouTube body language expert shows and started to make all these assumptions. God, this is wild.
They summarize why he looks pathetic in their minds.
Oh, I see. Hides penis equals beta. Displays penis equals alpha. Oh, I get it. So because they're saying Trump, you can see his, his penis hanging down, so to speak, he's there, it's open, his legs are open, he is an alpha male. And because Martin is concealing his penis with his legs, he's obviously weak and a beta male. Oh shit, I hadn't thought of this, man. This is huge.
You know why they have a housing crisis? Because they're doing so well.
And then Trump decides to offer some advice on Ireland's housing crisis, which makes zero sense. And let me tell you, it certainly went down like a lead balloon at home.
They can't produce houses fast enough. That's a good problem, not a bad problem. That's a pretty good answer, President. Congratulations. No, it's true.
We are winning too much.
All we do is win. It's funny as well because you can see here, look at this clip, right? You can see after he says that, Micheál knows he has to laugh along here. Look at this. But he also knows he's absolutely fucked for laughing at that when he comes home. It's kind of like, when one of your friends has a girlfriend that can be a little much, and he knows that he's in a lot of trouble when he gets home, so he's just kind of going along with the lads while he's on his night out, then he knows he's gonna have absolute hell to pay when he gets home. That's kind of what this feels like. Micheál knows he's in loads of trouble. He knows he's fucked when he gets home to the wife, which is us, but for the now he's enjoying it with his gregarious friend that the wife doesn't really like, i.e. Trump.
Micheál. That's a good problem, not a bad problem. That's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, Ireland is doing so well that 40% of 30-year-olds still live with their parents. Truly a success story.
Peter, could I respectfully interrupt you there? Do you know what this discussion needs more about? Trans people.
Oh, right. Jesus, I think it's contractually obliged with every single Trump speech to go on at least one trans rant. Do we have one? Do we have one at this St. Patrick's Day event?
But who would run it? Who would allow this to happen? Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it, and everything's transgender. Everybody transgender, that's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But
it's like how we keep bringing up patreon.com/epic news. It's like every few minutes you need to drop that into conversation.
He could be talking about lasagna and still find a fucking way to bring up the trans issue, lads.
It's an interesting question coming from you.
He dismisses the question on Gaza as it's, not worthy of his time.
One thing I'll tell you, you're not from Israel, that's for sure, huh? She is definitely not from Israel.
But someone fucking brings up Rosie O'Donnell and he's like, I'm all in.
This is incredible pettiness.
Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
What a fucking idiot, am I right?
You're better off not knowing.
There's lots of brave people online, though, like John here, who says, if I was in Martin's position, I would have broke the bowl of Shamrocks across his head to make a point about Israel breaking our hearts.
Of course, this man would literally attack the most powerful man on the planet. That's absolutely what would happen.
The point would be really well conveyed then.
As he would be doing it and hitting him, he'd be like, I'm doing this to symbolize the fact that Israel broke our heart. That's what he should be doing as he's running over to him with the bowl of shamrocks.
Yeah, he has to shout that out while he's doing it, yeah.
Just to let you know, the extended metaphor that I'm going for here is that Israel... Yeah, exactly.
So then Trump was asked about his favourite Irish person.
Who's your favourite Irish person?
And, of course, who did he mention?
Oh, let me think. who is currently quite polarizing, let's say, in Ireland. My goodness, could it possibly be who I think it might be, Peter?
Well, I do happen to like your fighter. He's got the best tattoos I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm a big but that.
Conor McGregor.
Boy, you have. Well, Conor's great, right?
The fact that Conor McGregor keeps on getting brought up wherever we go in the world now, it's an interesting situation we're all in, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting is one word for it, Peter, because outside of Ireland, I think there's this weird tension now, because even Micheál Martin's like, oh yeah, Conor McGregor, yeah, and he doesn't really, he gets quite nervous, understandably, when the subject comes up, but what's he gonna do?
You smile and nod.
Because yeah, even when you're abroad, everyone's like, yo, Conor McGregor, and as we saw here, Micheál Martin's like,
If, say, 33 and a third was a person, I think it would be Conor McGregor, if you get me.
Yes, I completely get you.
Boy, you have. Well, Conor's great, right?
Peter, would you rather have to talk about Conor McGregor over and over again, or say 33 and a third for English people?
We're going to be doing this at least 3 more times, okay? We're going to be doing this 3 more times, at least.
Also, does nobody else find it slightly worrying? Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to ruin the diplomacy here. I think we've all had a fantastic day and we're all really happy here, Peter. But that he said at least 3 more times. Like, is that trolling, or do you think he actually has some designs on being here longer than another 3 years?
Oh, he certainly has, but don't worry about that for now. Instead, enjoy some fucking river dance.
So please join me in welcoming these friends of Ireland to the stage. River dance.
Get those guys in. Get that piece of wood that they always dance on to make that kind of sound, and we'll get in here and we'll do it.
Yeah, don't be worried about democracy and the future of the free world. Riverdance is here.
When the world does finally end with a whimper and a bang, Peter, it'll probably be both. I'll be just there in a bunker, kind of mournfully humming the Riverdance theme to myself.
Yeah,
that's what I'll be comforting myself with. I'll be rocking back and forth. I'll be eating a cockroach I found.
that's the sound the missiles make on impact.
I love these songs. What's with these songs?
It's in honor of the Taoiseach.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's talk.
So yeah, it went well overall, and I think it's pretty clear why it went well when you see who just chimed in at the bottom of the comments here. St. Patrick himself.
Oh wow, St. Patrick himself has a Twitter, and he says, I was watching over the Oval Office.
Good man. Well, look, St. Patrick, you keep on tweeting.
That's beautiful.
Imagine if St. Patrick gets radicalized on Twitter. starts chasing the immigrants out of the country instead of the snakes.
Oh no, we've let St. Patrick near the internet, and now he's trying to banish African men.
St. Patrick, no! Meanwhile, the question on many people's minds was, where are the Burks?
So we just need to give you a little bit of context maybe here. Peter and I have in fact done a video about this. I believe it was towards the end of last year, 2024. The Burks are a very controversial family in Ireland.
Yeah.
And they have been in the media cycle for I think about 2 or 3 years now, because one of the Burke children, so there's a mother and a father, a traditional family unit, I just want you to point out there, Peter, a marriage between a man and a woman, and they have a bunch of kids. And Enoch Burke, one of the children, who's an adult man who used to work in a school, he was dismissed from his job. We are not going to get into the specifics of why, because that is still, I believe, the subject of litigation. However, it has come under intense scrutiny in Ireland because Enoch has repeatedly denied court orders and repeatedly rejected court orders.
So anyway, his family decided they were going to go over to Washington. So everybody was speculating.
Because a journalist tweeted that they were on the flight to Washington that he was on. They were like, right, they're going to somehow embarrass Micheál Martin publicly while he's in the US.
I know before we mentioned the excitement of the dog coming to school. Well, in this case, it felt like 3 dogs that were outside the school got on a plane and flew to Washington.
I saw a lot of rumblings on stuff online, on Irish forums online, that people thought because Trump is connected to a lot of very powerful evangelical people, a lot of Christian people in the US, that somehow the Burks were connected to those same people, and that the Burks were basically going to ambush Micheál Martin in the Oval Office in front of Trump. That's what everybody was hoping.
Throughout this meeting, the speculation was getting more and more intense. I genuinely believe a lot of people thought it was going to be like WrestleMania or something. There was just going to be a sound effect. It was going to be the Burks theme song would come on. I don't know what their theme song would be. Perhaps a religious hymn.
Probably be a hymn of some sort. Yeah, it would have to be a hymn.
And they would stride into the room to confront Micheál Martin.
Yeah, with a guy holding up like Austin 316 and stuff. It would be real theatrics.
Yeah, but sadly for them, it didn't pan out like that. And you might wonder where the Burks were. Well, they were outside. They were outside with a couple of signs. It was a bit of a letdown for everybody. They wouldn't even talk to the camera.
About what brought you over here today?
They didn't seem like their usual selves.
I was like, what is going on here? The Burks are surprisingly quiet. Usually these guys are kicking and screaming and being dragged out of courtrooms, but my goodness, they came in the third act with some incredible theatrics. We've said it before, and in fact, we've been saying it, I'd say, for the best part of a year, but their commitment to the bit is exceptional.
Connections that were first planted in County Lease.
Like, this really is incredible. What? I always thought there'd be a little bit more security in fucking Washington, D.C., where there's literal leaders of countries at events. These three just literally fucking walked in.
They're barely in the door. They're screaming transgender. They're screaming Micheál Martin's name. They shot their load a little early.
I think maybe what they actually wanted was to be stopped from going in, and then their whole shtick would have been, we're not allowed in, we're not allowed to express ourselves, etc., etc. But then they got in and they're like, oh shit, we better do something now.
They could have walked right into the event. They could have got up close to the stage. The excitement got to them.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You see the way they started the second they're here? They should have waited till they were in like the middle, or as you say, up on the stage, because otherwise, like, the dragging them out would have taken so much longer and been so much more dramatic. Like, you want to be properly dragged out kicking and screaming, but they just got dragged from the very edge, like, out in like 2 seconds. They needed to get in further and then start all this rubbish.
You know, Burke in prison for 513 days. You know, Burke in prison.
You see the cult of Mammy Burke getting kicked out, and then young Burke rolls onto his mammy. It's like a drunk wedding scene at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Can you hear what the guy says as well? Because it gets a big laugh. I can't hear what he's saying. So obviously the speaker says something regarding, I'm sure, them, which gets a big laugh. I wonder what it is. I don't think does anybody have any, I haven't seen anything online about it. I've no source for it, Peter, but we can't hear what he says, right?
513 days. You know, Burke in prison.
I believe it's...
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's the guy from Fatal Deviation saying, what the fuck is this?
You know, Burke in prison.
That's huge in Washington political circles. They love that clip, Peter. Yeah, it is, absolutely.
So at the end, they speak to the cameras, and what is so funny about this is Mammy Burke is yapping away, and the son is joining in, like, you know, the guy in a rap song who just joins in at the end?
The hype man.
Who is the guy in a rap song that just kind of repeats some of the words back?
Yeah, so especially when they're doing it live, I think it's so the rapper can take a breath. So basically, they'll hit the last word of the sentence, and then the main rapper can take a breath. Yeah, basically a hype man, a guy on stage with you. Literally, that's what he is, yeah.
The Irish people live in fear.
Yes, they do.
And
Yes.
teachers are afraid in schools.
Yes, they are.
It's a sad day for Ireland.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I think this really summarizes the relationship here, because all the siblings, all the sons and daughters, they're basically echoes of Mammy Burke here, aren't they?
These are all very dutiful little soldiers that do exactly what they should be doing. Yeah, it is phenomenal.
I hope she brought him to McDonald's after and got him a milkshake and a Happy Meal.
Yes, they are.
Genuine question. Do you think they're doing fun touristy things as well while they're in America?
Yes, they are.
Can we get a tour on an open top bus of downtown Washington, D.C.?
Who were you hoping to speak to by entering the event tonight, Martina?
Who funded? Did you pay for your own trip here?
Would you go get a job somewhere else, stacking shelves?
Do you see how she turns on the journalist that asks this question about who funded their trip?
Would you go get a job somewhere else, stacking shelves?
Oh yeah, they asked a completely reasonable question, given the circumstance. Like, who the fuck is funding this? Who the fuck funded your entire family to go on this trip to Washington to disrupt an event in the shittest way possible? And she really is not happy with that question, and she responds by saying, I think you should get a job stacking shelves.
Would you like to speak with
a job stacking shelves?
Would you like to speak with Elon Musk?
Yeah, it's an unusual response. Like, to be fair, I think she does herself no favors here, because I would have just simply said, I don't really see why that matters. Can you not address or engage with the point I'm making, you know? But instead, she just like fucking loses it.
It would suit you better to get a job stacking shelves.
I think stacking shelves as a job occupation is a lot more valuable to society than being a full-time fucking outrage merchant, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Someone stacking shelves is a decent member of society and pays tax.
Yeah, why is stacking shelves used as like an insult?
It would suit you better to get a job stacking shelves.
Look at her fucking turning her nose up at people who perform an honest-to-goodness job.
Like to speak
with a job stacking shelves.
Mommy Burke, do you not occasionally go to the shop and pick things off that very shelf that somebody stacked?
The fucking notions of this family. And this is what annoys me about it. They've roped in some naive people online who support them and think, oh, you know, they're sticking up for the small person and, you know, the government doesn't care about us small people. The Burks don't give a fuck about you. They think you're a peasant.
It would suit you better to get a job stacking shelves.
It is interesting to deride her with the whole stacking shelves thing, as you say, when you're saying that they kind of championed themselves as the downtrodden working man who is being, we'll say, polluted by leftist government propaganda. But then they're also like, ha, you menial labour, fuck you.
God, if you gave the Burks a fucking shot in power, the work camps wouldn't be long. Popping up again, I swear. So, along comes St. Patrick's Day, and a guest of honour is invited to the White House that completely blows everyone's mind.
Have you seen that meme? I think he's called the Kool-Aid Man, where the jug of Kool-Aid
bursting through the door.
I mean, obviously, that's all what we thought of, right?
Happy Paddy's Day, America!
Oh yeah!
He's the Kool-Aid Man personified, but also the spiritual energy of snorting cocaine in a handicapped toilets while somebody is knocking on the door outside in a wheelchair.
Happy Paddy's Day, America!
There is definitely a certain, I would say there's a certain nervous energy to this video, Peter.
There is. Everybody at home was also equally nervous watching him get in front of that podium, and for good reason. So the press secretary begins with, we couldn't think of a better guest to have with us on St. Patrick's Day.
Conor is here to meet with the president. He'll be meeting with him later this afternoon. We couldn't think of a better guest to have with us on St. Patrick's Day.
Which I think is very interesting for the day that's in it, Chris.
Yeah, sure. They've gone for a deep cut off the album and they have chosen Conor McGregor. And I for one, I'm interested in the choice.
We couldn't think of a better guest to have with us.
I agree with her. I mean, what better guest for St. Patrick's Day than a man overwhelmingly disliked in Ireland, here to complain about immigrants in Ireland to the Irish who immigrated to America on the feast day of our patron saint who was an immigrant.
Yeah.
On St. Patrick's Day, we're both wearing our green. This was not planned.
But the weirder thing is as well, you know what she says that seems to be somehow to try and stop any conspiracy theories that are going on here. The way she says about the outfit, we're both wearing green, which we didn't plan. That's the whole fucking point of St. Patrick's Day. I don't understand what the significance of her saying we didn't plan this was. It's literally the entire fucking gimmick of St. Patrick's Day that you wear green. What did she mean by this, Peter?
We're both wearing our green. This was not planned. But
I don't care if you did. That's okay. I don't mind if there was back channeling on the fact you both wanted to wear green. That's the least of our problems here.
Before Conor takes to the podium, he's having a little chat with the lady here, and he's sort of going over what are the general sentiments he wants to get across here.
And I'm hoping that I can get them all done in the next 2 minutes.
The first thing he says is, our hotels are all being taken over.
There's no hotels in them. They're all taken over.
Now, I'm just saying, interesting to open about hotels when a jury just found you civilly liable for raping a woman in a hotel. Unless this particular angle here is that the immigrants are coming over here taking up hotel spaces that could be used for raping Conor.
The caption of that picture will be mark sex offender meets sex offender, of course, because both individuals have been found liable for sexual abuse.
I'm here to raise the issues that people of Ireland face, you know, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears.
Not sure if it's exactly music to people in Ireland's ears, is it?
This reminds me of a wedding I was at once, and I'm not making light of the wedding that I was at, but basically it's the only time like that this has ever happened that I have felt this tension at a wedding, but it was years ago. But basically, the father of the bride was there, but he was now the ex-husband of the mother of the bride, if you understand me. So like, there was a mother of the bride, her new husband, there was the father of the bride who's now the ex-husband who's kind of estranged from the family, and he got up to give a speech, and that's the last time I felt like this, if you understand me. That's the last time I had this kind of weird knot in my stomach where I'm like, oh fuck, Jesus, and he gets up and there's a certain bitterness even in his body language. Do you understand me? The man I'm talking about who gave the speech at the wedding here, and everybody in the room kind of looked at each other nervously and was like, gee, look, we have to let him speak. I mean, he is at the microphone now and he is the father of the bride, and that's the last time I felt like this up until now, Peter.
Yeah, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears.
I think it would be more apt if he said, I'm here to raise the issues that will be music to the bots on Twitter pretending to be Irish people's ears.
I hear you, Peter. It's a specific niche audience to whom this will be music for their ears.
It's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed.
Both of us are from rural towns in Ireland. Perhaps he's talking about the likes of Roundstone or Barna being overrun by Dublin people.
Yeah, no, that's you know what? That's an overrunning that we have had to talk about for many years, Peter. People with odd names who come down and who have names like Fiacra and Shnachta and stuff, and who complain that the Wi-Fi is shit. There is definitely a certain class of people overrunning towns at certain times of the year in Ireland, in rural Ireland. I actually agree with him on this one.
And the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this.
For me locally, I suppose the closest one would be Bundoran, being besieged by Derry people every year.
Do we need to have an open and honest conversation about Derry people coming to Bundoran? Okay,
we do. We want our water world back. I mean, the queue for the Whizzer and the tornado slides, Chris, it's just become totally unacceptable in July. And
yeah, I would imagine it's unmanageable, yeah.
And I'm just glad that, you know, Conor McGregor is talking about this important issue, because I presume this is what he's talking about. Speaking as someone who lives in the fucking west of Ireland, a place that he's on stage in the White House talking about being overrun.
Also, I know there's some Irish immigrants in the US without status. What do you think should happen to them?
We consider America our big sibling. We wish to be taken care of by the big bro. You know, the United States should look after its little bro.
He wants to stop the immigrants in Ireland, but wants the immigrants in America to receive special treatment.
I'm all for immigration policy being observed in every direction. The problem is that, as you say, Peter, when there are like undocumented Irish in the US, it is sort of difficult to cast this stone.
Yeah.
I mean, it is sort of difficult to do this without being like, look, I mean the white ones, okay?
You know, there's some trade disputes between the US and the EU, and how do you think?
Then someone says there's some trade disputes between the United States and the EU. What do you think about that? And this is so funny. He pauses. You can literally see his fucking brain buffering in real time here.
You actually can't. You can literally see it buffering. It's so true. You can literally see the wheel spinning.
Yeah.
You can actually see the loading wheel spinning.
And then he eventually says, we wish exemption.
We wish exemption.
And it's like Father Jack shouting, that would be an ecumenical matter.
Do you think someone told him to say this?
That would be an ecumenical matter.
We actually have some stuff that we have to do right now.
They say, look, we've got important matters to get to in the Oval Office. I'm sure there were extremely important matters, Chris.
Absolutely, there were important matters.
This is one of the clips that has been released of the important matters going on between Trump and Mr. McGregor.
Nice suit, it's one of my own. I guess you want to do one.
So McGregor says, this suit is one of my own, and guess what I brought? And the funny thing is, Trump is completely disinterested. He doesn't care what he has to say, and he just points to that fucking map there and asks him, does he like it?
Guess you want to do what?
The weird thing is, at one point, am I wrong here? Maybe I'm just reading this body language wrong, because I am a man, believe me, with a terrible perception of what's going on around me. I frequently misread situations. But is Trump not kind of stepping away from him for a second? Like, do you see what I mean here?
Yeah.
Like, Trump almost kind of alarmedly steps back for a moment and is like, who the fuck? And then, like, someone has to motion over his shoulder, Conor McGregor, Irish fighter, Conor McGregor. It's St. Patrick's Day. And then Trump's like, yes, absolutely.
It's like he's nothing prepared. So, he cuts him off mid-sentence and he goes to the old reliable.
Guess you want to do what?
Points at his fucking map. Do you like it? Like a toddler pointing at something in his room, his favourite toy.
This is like, though, this is like as well when, see how Trump here stands back for a moment. This is like when you get to the party and everyone else is a little more drunk, but you haven't quite gotten as drunk yet, so you're still a little tight. You're not quite as loose. That's how Trump feels.
And then McGregor says, congratulations. I tell you what, your work ethic is inspiring.
Congratulations, sir. I tell you what, your work ethic is inspiring. Your work rate is inspiring.
Yes, Trump's work ethic clearly inspires Conor McGregor every day as he fucking speed runs convictions. And then fucking Elon Musk showed up as well. Does he live in the White House now? Does he live under Trump's fucking desk, or what's going on?
He must live very near it, because I would even with all of the access to private jets and helicopters and everything, this would still be quite a commute if he's not living there. Like, he's there every time something happens.
It's like Elon Musk is what's your man's name? Roger. Do you remember that show?
Sister. Yes.
Elon Musk is Roger.
Go home, Roger.
There's a little tap at the window, and then like Elon Musk climbs in.
Yeah. It is exactly the same thing. Though Musk just arrives in a Tesla, it would seem, that Trump then does an infomercial for outside of the White House. Like, look, I'm actually going to put a ban this episode, Peter, from this episode onwards of this show. No more Idiocracy comparisons, because it's actually boring. I can't keep saying that. I cannot keep making that joke. I cannot keep saying this is like the film Idiocracy.
People have been saying for years that they would love a sequel to that movie. Little do they know that we finally got one, but it's just real life.
We're getting a really meta interactive version of it.
Yeah.
Conor, what did you say to the president? What did you say?
He's had a great meeting with him. He's a great man. I told him his work rate is outstanding, and I wish him all the best.
Conor, the Taoiseach says you don't speak for the people of Ireland. Your response to that?
They do not represent the people of Ireland,
Conor,
and I'm
what
here.
Do you say to people who...
He maintains a certain level of, would we say, not decorum, Peter, but something resembling decorum.
Chris, he's maintaining a certain level of, I'm going to run for the fucking presidency next November, and this is my shtick.
Peter, put it on the line now, because it's quite a complex. We might have to do a whole episode on this in Ireland, because it's difficult to get a presidential nomination. It is difficult. It's harder than you think to run for president in Ireland. But does he do it? Does he run for president? Is he on the ballot?
It doesn't matter about the reality of the presidency in Ireland. It doesn't matter about the reality of anything he's saying. He knows his audience, and his audience is people like this fella here who said, "Happy St. Patty's Day. Great to see a real warrior in the White House." And those sort of people will be the ones that will continue to pay his bills regardless of what the fuck we think of him here.
Aaron Gabra, Peter.
Also, can I just say...
Drop it, Peter.
This is all so sad. I mean, I have UFC on fucking VHS tape. I used to go up to Zhivago in Galway to buy UFC videotapes. Love martial arts, jiu-jitsu, and every major mixed martial arts promotion through the years, from Pride to eventually to the UFC. And
years.
It's so sad to think that, we finally got the star that I always dreamed of, and here I am, visibly disgusted at the sight of the man on St. Patrick's Day.
It's terrible, because and this is not a joke, I can back Peter up there, because I think a lot of people, especially when something like this happens, to almost make it more dramatic, they go, God, I was a fan for years, this is so disappointing, I'm so sad, etc, etc. No joke. I have known Peter most of his adult life. He has always loved this stuff. And I remember when McGregor first started to get buzz, when he was just a young up-and-coming fighter, and to be honest with you, represented quite an exciting time in Irish sport. I remember you were like, this is amazing, this is so cool to see where he can bring this type of attention. He's a guy that was, you know, on the dole, really struggled, and he has, you know, scaled incredible heights. He has gone to absolute stardom. Peter, this must actually, I'm not trying to be funny, but this must actually be like seeing one of your heroes turn into something you're not happy with, because I know you really liked this guy.
It's a very, very, very strange experience. Because I know a lot of people now are like, oh, you just don't get him, man.
Peter's not being a hater for the sake of it. He loved this guy.
Watching his rise was the most exciting sporting moment I've ever experienced.
This is not a joke.
Dude, I was there in Madison Square Gardens watching him become the champ. You know,
of course, yeah. You loved it. And this isn't Peter being a hater because it's fashionable. Peter used to love this guy. Peter genuinely fucking defended this guy.
I didn't think that here we would be, after a few short years, disgusted at the fucking sight of him talking on behalf of our country.
Like, one of the things Peter and I still laugh about, this is no joke, and I remember we used to quote this to each other for a few years. We used to keep saying to each other, we might even play a clip of it in a second, Peter, just for nostalgia's sake, but I even remember we used to laugh and quote at each other. What is this, the fucking Money Channel?
Yeah.
When him and Nate Diaz were arguing with that woman on like MSNBC or something. It was actually genuinely really good fun.
It was so good.
It was great fun.
What are your financial dreams? What to you means you've made it? A mansion, a Ferrari, what is it?
I don't know. Say it like it is, Nate. William up. Who gives a f***? Is this the Money Channel? Who the f*** is this shit?
God, innocent times. Fucking hell, it seems like a long, long time ago now.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, do you know what? Fuck him. He threw it away. And look, I know it's a very sad note to possibly end this episode on, but sure, I think that's the full Irish experience, isn't it, Chris? I mean, what is St. Patrick's Day without a little bit of melancholy?
The Irish experience is generally kind of bittersweet, a bit maudlin, a bit morose. Yeah, exactly. There is that is exactly the Irish condition, isn't it, Peter? You're never really happy, and there's always something fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it started off joyful and then it ends with sadness and Celtic mysticism playing in the background.
All right, lads. Time to shamrock and roll as we wrap up this week with the Epic News Community Check-In.
Peter, it's that time of the week where we see what the vibes are like with our beautiful community.
And what are the vibes like this week, Chris? Let's have a little look.
The vibes
Let's
are
have a
good.
little look-see.
I think the vibes are... Wait, I'm going to try use some Gen Z slang. I think the vibes are mid. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, well, are they only mid?
I don't know. I think there's some Ohio Riz going on in the vibes, Peter. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. However, we will get to the first comment from... I like this one, and I have to say... And by the way, I'm going to then scream at this commenter. However, I want to say that I do mean this in a genuine and sincere way. It is lovely to know that we have this position in your life, Anonymous ZYX, but I really have no idea how you can manage this. Anonymous ZYX says... I listen to this at night while I fall asleep. Best is if I sleep before the episode finishes, I can listen again next day. I would rather listen to almost anything else, Anonymous ZYX, than Peter and I if I was trying to fall asleep. Don't get me wrong, I'm privileged and I'm honoured that you'd use Peter and I like that, and that Peter and I would have that very coveted and important position in your life, something so intimate as your bedtime ritual. That is hugely significant. However, how in the name of Christ are you able to fall asleep while listening to Peter and I? That is miraculous.
How are you able to fall asleep listening to Uncle Gabatron, most importantly?
Yeah, that's even worse.
That is the real mystery.
He would give me actual, properly... You know those dreams you get when you have sleep paralysis? I actually think Uncle Gabatron would give me those type of dreams.
Speaking of all things sleep related,
yes.
What's the story with your little cuts in your face? Was little Chrissy sleepwalking again?
It's funny because I only notice these. No joke, you really don't notice these that much in normal conditions. But obviously in here, there's like monitors for the cameras, there's lights and stuff.
Yeah.
But I noticed on the monitor just before we started, I was like, Jesus Christ, I have more cuts on my face. So for anyone who doesn't know, we were kind of joking a few weeks ago here on this very segment because somebody in one of the comments said Chris has a huge cut on his forehead, and yeah, it's true. And I basically said that I wake up frequently with cuts and I've no idea how I got them. So we were wondering if maybe I'm actually committing crimes or something in my sleep, but this week's ones are bad, and there's 2 of them.
Was there any murders reported in the news?
No joke, I did check. There have been no murders in the Dublin area over the last few days, so I think I'm off the hook, because we have this theory that I'm actually murdering people in my sleep.
No murders reported yet.
True.
So,
shit, maybe Sleep Me has just gotten really good at all of this. Maybe Sleep Me is now actually a totally separate part of my brain, and he's like a criminal mastermind, and I'm literally playing catch up with him. He's so good now he can hide the bodies and everything.
Oh, and look who it is. Sexy John Donnellan 2.
Oh my God.
Has chimed in again.
Sexy John Donnellan 2 is back. What does he have to say? Last time he had the incredible comment. I don't know how he's going to top it this time.
Yeah, last time his comment was literally comment.
It was the word
this
comment.
Week it is. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go for it.
This week it is comment again.
Wow. Oh, John Donnellan, you are an innovator.
They
Sexy
say
John
it
Donnellan.
couldn't be topped.
I'll tell you something. This is what was his difficult second album going to be? How was he going to do it? John Donnellan has come out though. He has blown the people away. I love it. Well done, Sexy John Donnellan.
I love this silly little community of ours as well, because he's really started a trend. There's multiple people posting comment squared.
Yes.
Just commenting.
Yes.
They're really getting in the fun. But I'll tell you what, you little fecks, I have turned off the notifications on my phone so you can no longer wake me up with your nonsense. But I really do appreciate the commitment
to the bit. Yeah, that is incredible commitment
to trolling me.
Yeah, obviously that's what people were doing, because Peter was complaining last week that he had changed a setting on his phone, which meant he was getting all of the YouTube comments. And Peter was having, he was asleep, and then Sexy John Donnellan woke him up with the word comment. So obviously then people have been trying to recreate that. Obviously everybody is trying to reach you while you're asleep, Peter. You're a very important man.
I appreciate
you're like a CEO of a company.
The commitment to trying to destroy my sleep, lads, but I'm a step ahead of you this time.
Leave that to me.
For now.
Mylar says, epic news intersecting with my tier 1 nerd hobby is another thing I'll tell my wife about to her complete indifference. Good times. Well, Mylar, I presume you are referring to, of course, us discussing Warhammer lore last week on the podcast.
And my God, there has been so many Warhammer related posts. Who knew there were so many Warhammer 40k fans within
surprising.
This community?
Yeah, I tell you something. There's a real intersection here. I tell you, Peter, you are amongst your people here. I have no idea what the fuck any of you were talking about.
The Emperor truly protects.
Yeah, yes, Peter. I'll take your word for it.
Oh look, and the Nameless Nomad is back, and they say that as a member of Gen Z, I am sure glad I can see through the propaganda and advertisements of the modern age.
Wow. Well, it's a good thing you're media literate, the Nameless Nomad. Thank God for that.
They continue.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm after working up an appetite, so I think I'm going to stop by my local Lidl bakery for a butter croissant. While I'm there, I may as well deposit my Coca-Cola bottles in the deposit machine.
Oh,
fantastic.
Well, you know what you could do after that tiring day, Nameless Nomad? You could reward yourself by subscribing to our premium tier subscription service on patreon.com/epic news. There's 3 tiers on there, and depending on how much you want to treat yourself, you can have a great time. How does that sound after you've done that very productive day of going to Lidl TM and also returning your Coca-Cola TM bottles into the deposit machine?
I love this from Jack Jones 4577. They said, this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with the sound of the return bottle bag on Fair City.
Jack Jones, that is way deeper than you think, man.
By the way, guys, next Wednesday, if you don't see us post a video, the world is not ending. We have to be up front with you. We won't be around for the next week, or is it maybe 2 weeks, because we're shooting something, but we haven't changed our ways. We aren't abandoning you. Don't worry.
And don't get me wrong, we understand that we do have form here. Like sometimes we take 4-year breaks. So believe me, that's on us, and we're trying to grow as people, and we promise you it will not be anywhere near that long again. And if it makes you all feel any better, Peter and I will be spending even more time together for those 2 weeks. It is going to be intensely unpleasant for me, I can assure you. It means more time in contact with Peter, which makes me horribly uncomfortable. So if any of you just think that the boys are gone and the game is gone, believe me, it is not.
Communication is important. We're not going to pop off to the shop for the milk and abandon our family ever again.
No, we're definitely never going to do that again. I promise you. Most importantly, actually, if I could just return back to was his name Anonymous ZYX? I hope you have something to fall asleep to, my friend, for the next few weeks. I hope that you're able to fall asleep, okay? I hope you don't develop insomnia or anything like that without Peter and I. However, Peter, before we go, will we throw it over? Do you think, given that we're breaking now for a week or two, that Uncle Gabatron will be diplomatic and that he will congratulate us on a great first season of this show?
I think so. I think he has it in him.
Thank you. However, the answer is no. I don't have it in me, and I'm not even going to summarize the show this week because I couldn't be fucking arsed. So instead, I'm just going to say, me ha.
Wow, that was a terrible way to end everything. That was the worst he's done yet.
If that poor person who falls asleep to us hasn't been awoken by that fucking nonsense, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what will wake them.
Listen, we will be back very soon. It has been a great first few weeks. We have really enjoyed it. I know I've really enjoyed it. Peter's really enjoyed it. We've really enjoyed the community that's developing here. And we cannot wait to be back. And it will be before you know it, my friends, I promise.
Stay safe, guys.